Hello, Tom Monarchy here with the second special edition of the Straight Dirt Podcast with Steve Griggs. Steve Griggs, how you doing today, man?
Good, Tom, man. This is where second one. This is good. Wait for number 500. Let's roll.
I'm excited. Joe Rogan has nothing on Steve Griggs' design. All right, we're going to jump right in because he went viral on a piece. They got 2 million views, 16,000 likes, thousands of shares, thousands of comments. It was just craziness across the board. Something that I didn't think would go viral, but it was a article or video about a privet. What the heck's a privet, and why did it go viral?
So we're trying to think. It's called a privacy hack, right? So in the Hamptons, where we do a lot of work, they plant big rows of these tall hedges that are very private. Okay.
Yeah.
Privet comes from the Latin word privis, which means not open to the public.
Got it.
That's kind of what it is.
Got it.
And apparently they are so-called invasive species where they didn't come over naturally they weren't originated in the United States. They came from China or Japan or wherever. Came over and they're taking over the ecosystem, a.k.a. birds eat the berries, they fly to the ones, they do a poop, and it becomes more and more.
Got it.
Okay, so that's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah.
I was very shocked to see the amount of comments on that. I could see why the internet is, it's rough, man. It's a rough place. There was over 500 comments, and I answered 500 comments, right? We can get into talking about what else is invasive that people love and all that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
But so when it went viral, and what's interesting is, and don't get me wrong, obviously there were some environmental concerns, but respectfully to you, although you were a large landscape designer, I don't think you're going to affect their overall ecosystem, and it's obviously done in a micro fashion, right? So why do you think people were so passionate about it, though? Because it was more of an environmental concern?
I don't know. I think people had their takes on privet versus you could use other plant material. We can use hundreds of other plant material, right? The point was he wanted to feel like he was in the Hamptons. If you go to Hamptons, if you're not from anywhere else, but you see the Hamptons with the big estates, the hedges outside. That is why I chose that plant. I don't plant it every day. I'm not a privet peddler. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just, but there's other plants that are also considered invasive that people do plant, but you got to maintain it like anything else.
Right. Well, there's always pros and cons with any design, or like you said, build out. Give us one of the positives, or give us one of the advantages of a privet.
Privacy, right? People like privacy. They want a shrub that doesn't get 100 feet tall that they can keep trimmed that looks formal. They lose their leaves in the winter. Okay, so does it have some drawbacks? I guess so. Is it certain English ivy is called invasive also. Right? There's also different, I don't know, people got a little crazy on it. But it was good, man. It was a good roll.
Well, make sure you follow Steve Griggs Design and check out the Privet Beast. Make sure you drop a comment, and I would love to hear from you and see the channel is growing. It literally got like double its followership over a week or so, which is pretty cool. I guess one of the benefits of going viral. So next up is artificial turf. So I noticed, especially on the Instagram, TikTok, etc., even Pinterest, that the nicer backyards, I'm starting to see more artificial turf as a trend. Give us Steve Griggs Designs weigh in on artificial turf pros and cons.
Listen, that can be invasive too. Poison ivy is invasive. Right? Let's talk about the turf, for instance, right? In California, and where places of water is limited, the good thing about the artificial turf is you don't need water, you don't need to mow it, you're not taking mowers all that, you don't have to fertilize it. Oh, that sounds all great. Also, some of the drawbacks gets very hot. Okay, what happens after the turf is expired? You roll it up and throw it into the landfills. With natural grass, evaporate, transpirates, and they put CO2, take CO2 out of the air, and it's a living thing, but has to be fertilized. Water, trim. When you do the fertilizer, it creates phosphorus. There's phosphorus in the fertilizer, washes into the rivers and watering. So everything has its plus and minuses.
So, but with this trend, I did notice in some higher end backyards, would it be an aesthetic thing? Would it be more just, hey, less maintenance? What's the main reason for people there?
That's all the above, right? It's aesthetic, it's clean looking, there's no weeds in it, it stays consistently color. There's a lot of pluses and minuses, right?
All right, so I do have somebody comes by the house. They call them the mow blow guys. They come, they mow, they blow the leaves, that kind of stuff. And I notice a lot of different people in my neighborhood make the mistake of kind of going to that guy for their landscape design, right? I'm not knocking landscapers. They're a great profession. They're great people, but they're not landscape designers. So I know we kind of talked about it in the past, but I want to kind of dig a little deeper on the biggest difference between a landscaper and a landscape designer.
A landscaper does the work. Let's just keep it break this.
Yeah.
A landscaper does the work. A landscape designer typically have gone to many years of education.
Yeah.
Have to get licensed. They know about the soils. They know about the plants. They know everything else that goes into it. Being a landscaper is just doing the work. You know, you need to know where to put where and why things grow a certain way. That's what the design part. And aesthetically, how does it look? I like to compare it to somebody wearing a suit. Suit, the tie, the shirt, the shoes, everything kind of like the ensemble. That's what makes the nice backyard.
So landscapers and even landscape architects, if anywhere you have any type of vendor, you know this, any vendor or contractor, they tend not to always be so transparent. What are some of the things your landscapers not telling you?
Just when you're talking about, like, you show them the backyard, hey, can you do this backyard? Yeah, I can do this backyard. And very simple. But are they really qualified to do that backyard? Like, what do you, they're just telling you they can do it, but they really can't. They don't have the training. They don't know how to plan. They just don't know how to do the work.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I could see.
So Abraham Lincoln said, if I'm going to spend 8 hours cutting down a tree, I'm going to spend 7 hours sharpening my saw. Your business is no different. You're big on the pre-construction design, have everything laid out, the 7 hours of sharpening of the saw, and then executing on the build. Walk us through your methodology and how you do it.
So you want to paint the vision. So basically what we try to do is get a graphical representation of what is in your head and put it on paper. That's the simplest way I can explain landscape design or any design. So from that process, we can then pick out materials, budgets. If you don't have a design, right, you open yourself up to what's called change orders. Change order is an assumption. Hey, I assume you're going to do this. If you try to cost you more, I'm about to charge you more. When you have a good design, everybody's on the same page and know exactly what it's going to take, what the cost is going to be, so there's no hidden spreads. It's like change order insurance.
So what are the trends I see too, and this goes for a kind of new build out construction as well as out building out an expensive, higher end backyard. Some guys and gals are like, you know what, I want to pay Builders General or I want to pay directly. And on top of it, I want to use your 10% discount and, you just charge me for the labor. I'll pay for the materials. Why does that not work?
It typically doesn't work because the guys that you're hired typically are not licensed, not insured. God forbid something happens, man. Everything is fine until it's not fine. That's what the insurance guys tell me, right? Until somebody gets hurt on your property or something goes wrong. That's just one aspect of it. The material part, who's responsible if the material comes in faulty? Or if you're unsure, you got to go out and get more. It's more work for the one more. And besides, the guy that's doing the work has to make a certain amount of money to stay in business regardless. So either you're going to pay for the material in one way or you're going to pay for it in another. Well, I think you're getting ahead.
So we got some great feedback from the New Theory podcast as well as the First Straight Dirt podcast that we did together. And one of the things that keep getting asked, what's the average price? What's the range? That kind of stuff. You and I were talking off camera about a formula you like to use based off the house, kind of with or without a pool. So let's talk about a $1 million home. Let's talk about a $2 million home. Give us kind of the formula you should expect so there's no sticker shock when calling Steve Griggs tonight.
I mean, you see a lot of people go, well, how much does a backyard cost? I mean, you got to see the range run from 10 grand to 300 grand. Yeah, it depends on where you are in America, right? So a good rule of thumb is they typically say 10% of the value of the home. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do so much work in your house where you're the nicest property. You hear that in real estate. You want to do the nicest house in the neighborhood or whatever. But if you have $1 million house, if you spend 100 grand, you can get the front dug for like 30-ish and spend the rest of it in the backyard. Very minimal. 20% is better. A swimming pool itself will knock it right out of the budget. Swimming pool's 100 grand. Wow. 100 grand. I mean, think about it. But think about whole gas, electric, cleaning up. I don't care what anybody says. The pool's the cheapest part. You have the patio, the fence, the landscaping, the lighting. It all comes out. I mean, nice backyard in the New York area, all soup to nuts. You should budget $250 to $350. That's a good rule of thumb.
So I don't want to push back, but I often think, I'm like, you know what? I want to see Rick design backyard, which I'm seeing for. We talk about, the pool, right? Why not just call a pool guy?
You can call a pool guy. Okay, we said earlier on is that the pool guy is coming to sell you a pool. His job is to sell you a pool. You call a designer, his job is to design you the best backyard for the best value, so you get the value of the whole thing.
Outside of the pool.
Outside of the pool as well, you still have the patios, the fencing. The pool guy typically doesn't design the landscaping, the lighting, the fencing, all that. He's there to build your pool. You want someone who's more versed in the entire process.
That makes sense. So also we got some folks, obviously, they have a meet, such can get checked. Other people may be interested in, they do very well financial income, but maybe don't have the cash, or they're aspirational and have great credit. So how do they finance this? I heard a lot about like HFS construction loans, access and other. Can you kind of walk us through some fundamental financing options?
Yeah, there's several companies out there. I think you just can Google. We'll probably drop a couple links in the show notes. There's Green Tree. There's HFS construction financing, where you can actually get a loan to finance your backyard project, right? I don't know the interest rates and all. I don't know how comparable with anything else. But the good side to that is you have your project set up. Say if it's 8% difference on $100,000 is whatever, $8,000, but whatever, I don't know. That will, if you have to piecemeal this job in, it never comes out as like you would do it in one shot. Because the reason was that the contracts have to come back, remobilize, make another mess. At the end of the day, you're probably spending more to piecemeal it in.
Anyway, now one of the other things I noticed and kind of scratching my head is, in a family construction, new construction, they will build you a beautiful home, right? New construction. But the backyard is a 10 by 10, a little bit of cement, and like the backyard is super underwhelming. I know decks are kind of coming back, but still maybe a deck, and they don't even push that. So why do new construction historically not have a great backyard? And if you're building new constructions, the second question is, should I maybe engage you during the process? I could maybe design it and mold it into my mortgage.
Very good question, Tom. I think that's where a lot of home builders are falling short. That's just my opinion, because I think the home is just not the inside of the house. They're focused on the inside. With property values super high in the New York, New Jersey area, why wouldn't you take advantage and maximize the value of the entire property?
Good.
People like turnkey. I just think a lot of the home builders don't want to be bothered with the outside because it's outside their expertise. If you bring in a guy like me early on in the phase, he designed the whole process, the whole house, so it's cohesive. Nowadays, with the big doors and the wide windows, outside is inside.
More important.
So it's all one. I think it's all one. And maybe possibly you can get it rolled into the mortgage, so you get it all done in one shot.
So if I'm doing let's say, new construction, I have a builder, or maybe doing a redo or moving out and redoing my whole house or modeling my whole house, do I ask my builder, say, hey, I'd like to connect you with Steve, or you kind of could do it autonomously, just as long as you guys have bump heads? I want to know, when do I gauge you? How do I gauge you properly without maybe even offending the builder?
I mean, it's your house, right? So, you should really engage a landscape architect before you think the foundation for the tree. Yeah. Make sure the house is positioned properly, facing the west, and make sure you get to the proper sun. If you want to see, you're going to need proper trees. So that's a whole nother, that's the benefit of doing a new restructuring. You have the privilege of dictating all those with the right design team in place.
All right. We're in Jersey, notorious for red tape. Permitting is always fun, especially at the localities that have a part-time guy or gal that works there, that works amongst 3 or 4 cities. And it's a lot to get done. And a lot of people want to do this whole DIY thing. But talk us about permitting and why you need an expert to help you attain these permits.
Anyway, so let's just, nobody hating on the town employees. They're probably they're probably underpaid, overworked. Everybody's coming in there and everybody wants their permits done. And a lot of these AMs employ outside contractors, like outside inspectors that cover 5 or 6 towns. So, let's be a little kind to you as local building department people. Hashtag shout out to the building inspectors, right? No, but I think your question was, the people
Yeah, permitting. They underestimate. They take you a walk in.
Yeah, permits take forever.
Yeah.
Permits take forever. That's one of the factors of the project you can't really dictate. Depends how busy the town is. One of the tips I can tell you is hire the professional, spend the extra money, because they will make sure they go through the checklist and have everything in order. Nothing worse than going to a building department and handing in an application that's not fully finished. And they have to hand it back. It delays the whole thing.
Now, I want to call you when I'm ready to call you, right? Meaning I have my budget, I have my money, I have the game plan, I have the coverage, ready to rock, Steve, right? However, I noticed that you and I were chatting on your phone earlier, and sometimes people kind of add stuff on later than they think they can get faster and cheaper, and then it kind of like screws up the whole project that you did, unfortunately. So what are the type of things that you should be planning for? Hey, you know what? If you get a nice in-ground pool, maybe have a modest pool house. Or if you're going to have an in-ground pool, maybe you should have a little bit of like a media area, so you'll be spending more outside. What are some of the areas that you recommend doing it the first time and doing it right based off of secondary requests that you see in the past?
We always try to plan for it, right? So if you're thinking about pool house down the road, put the underground pipes in. It's inexpensive to put the underground pipes in. You know, $100, you get the underground pipe. This way, up to dig up the patio, we dig up the whole thing. Nuts. And we're seeing a lot of people want work at home, outdoor office spaces. I think that was pretty much probably to edit some of that, but I don't know, is that the question?
Yeah, no, just like, no, I'm not even prepared for what, let me rephrase, okay? So, Steve, what's a request you get, right? After you did a nice, beautiful backyard, but they add something on later, and they kind of go to somebody to get it done faster and cheaper, and it kind of winds up hurting the whole project. So what's something they may want to do on Jump Street to have the right package up front, complimentary stuff that you actually recommend if they could budget up front or still be
Full house. Full house comes to mind. It's usually a very expensive portion of the project. It's just difficult to add after. You know, you got to run the sewer line, the water line, the electric. You basically have to dig up the whole backyard. If you can at least get it set up, put the foundation in, put your utilities in, it kind of helps you down the road.
So time versus money proposition. A lot of people, again, they plan for this stuff, but they think they can do it themselves. What are some of the things you've seen or horror stories you've seen where people try to do certain things themselves and it's just something you're like, you know what, you should have called me first? What are some of the DIY things, disasters, or trends you're hearing about with boots on the ground?
First thing that comes to my mind is the weekend warrior.
Yeah.
Who goes to Home Depot, and in the springtime, you go to Home Depot or any nursery in the springtime, everything is in color, everything is flowering, pretty much. So what they'll do is they don't know the exact plants that we get tagged over. They don't know exactly what that plant's going to do to the soil condition. So they'll pick one of everything. And you can tell who did it themselves, and they go back in the house and they put everything in a tree that's going to go 40 feet tall, and they plant it next to the front door, and 3 years later they have to rip it out. So it's not knowing. I mean, you want to have a little garden patch in your back and put some landscaping, that's fine. But if you start doing patios and outdoor kitchens and all, unless you're that's your business, do it. If not, stay out of it.
All right. So we kind of had some questions written down, but I want to go a little off the cuff to kind of wrap up this second episode. So you're doing social media now, you're doing a great job, right? And it took a little while, I think, to get your footing, and now I think you kind of get it. What are some of the learning that you understand? What do you understand better about social media maybe now than you did 2 years ago?
Man, do you have to start off every reel with a disclaimer? Like, guys, take it easy. Like, I didn't discover kryptonite. I'm not planting, and I'm planting privet. Like, no, okay, we get it. But like, also look a little further into the situation where I didn't say it's not good for every situation.
Yeah.
It's the right plant for the right job. Let's just, be clear on that. Another plant I want to talk about, switching topic, is wisteria. Everybody loves the wisteria. You know, the thing with the flowers hanging over the...
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, it's an invasive plant. Outlawed in 19 states.
Oh, man.
I don't say anybody hated on that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, take it take it as it's worth. You know what I'm saying? Take the good stuff and leave the rest, whatever they say. Like, do your own research a little bit.
Yeah. We should probably do a segment where you read like all like the mean tweets, they call it. You know, the mean comments. That may be fun.
Oh my God, some guy told me I was nauseous. I called him, take 2 pumps and call me in the morning. I mean, it's just like, just having fun. I get what they're saying, but like, you know, but a lot of people don't look past it. They just believe everything they see and read. It's crazy.
Is there a certain level of frustration because, and to be fully transparent, you offer a premium product, right? It's not for everybody, and that's okay. But you also...
it is for everybody. It is. I think everybody should deserve a place outside where they can call their own. I'm not saying I'm the highest end guy. No. All I'm saying is that when you call me, it's going to cost a lot of money, regardless of who you call. It will be done right, and you will never have to do it again.
Yeah.
That's a comforting thing. You hire your local guy. You can still do it, but you don't want to be going back there and fixing stuff. You want to make sure it's done right. That's what I could say on that.
One of the things, though, this is obvious for many other industries, but in your space where I think you're being disrupted in a good way is you're being transparent about cost and pricing, right? You just posted a nice reel on these are $3K each, and this will be $5K, and this will be $8K. And the thing I like about it, you're just being transparent about price, which I think is the right thing to do. But you're not in the most transparent industry. You think in a certain way, you're probably pissing off a few other competitors where they're like, hey, I can't charge as much now.
I don't know. I see that sometimes in the pool guys, and I'm not so anybody in the boss, but they need to create the expectations. And if I'm going to come into your backyard with a giant machine and dig an 8-foot hole. And then we talked about this on our previous, I do called the power flip. Now I have a hole.
Yep.
Now I hit it wrong. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You're going to pay me another $25,000, take it over, or you kind of stuck. That's one of the benefits of having a properly designed job, to try to minimize the risk.
Yeah.
To minimize the risk.
All right. I'm gonna talk to Steve like Steve talks to me, right? Which is a good thing. He's very direct, as you can see. Steve, I'm buying what you're selling. I see on YouTube. I see with the boots on the ground. I see on the podcast. I see your backyards. I see everything you're doing. And to be honest, I love it. I'm ready to turn the key to sign you on, right? However, trust but verify. What can I do to feel more comfortable? Can I talk to 3 clients? Can I maybe walk through a backyard? Give me the process where I'm 99% there, but I want to feel more comfortable in signing on Steve. And we know you're a direct guy. That's why it's straight to a podcast. But what do you offer somebody who just wants to have a nugget of faith to sign on?
I've had clients like, a job now, you can talk to whoever you want. What do you think I'm going to give you? My worst man? Why don't I give you the guy that the wall fell down?
Yes.
You see how I stepped up to make it right. Those are the kind of things you want to look for. What went wrong? Tell me a story where tell me what went wrong and how you fixed it.
Yeah.
I can find nobody's going to give me their worst client or worst, everybody has, if everything is 5 stars and let's screw you're full of crap, you're not giving you the right information, right? I can give you clients, we can go look at jobs, but it's really like the gray hair. Been doing this for 40 years. I've installed thousands of jobs.
Yeah.
That's really, you can't fake that.
Yeah.
Like you can't fake that. So I don't know what else to say.
So does social media help? And I'm going to preface this. Does social media help or hurt your space? And I want to say why. We see a lot in the plastic surgery space where people look perfect on camera. And then they come into the plastic surgeon and they say, hey, I want to look like this person. It's going to be great. We see some pretty badass backyards online for different angles and different. Does social media hurt in a way where you say, hey, Steve, I want this backyard. And I'm showing you like a $750,000 backyard. You're like, hey, I can do that for you. But it might kind of jam me up a little bit financially. So has social media, you think, help or hurt your space?
I think there's a lot of designers out there that are good. They can make a pretty picture.
Yeah.
Like, let me just preface this by saying a design is only as good as if it's executable.
Yeah.
Like it has to be buildable. If you can't look great on your TikTok or anything, you have to be able to build it. And I think somebody like myself has a construction experience, knows if it's buildable or not. I'm sure if you told him about money and he could build anything. You want to make sure it fits in certain parameters.
Yeah.
tackle a project like that.
I also read a lot that there are very strong designers, right? Very strong designers, reputable designers who make a great design, but they're just not as into the build portion. They go through, multiple sub